Welcome to Net Zero. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said that young people are at the forefront of efforts to secure a more inclusive, peaceful, and prosperous future for all. Today on Net Zero, we are delighted to welcome 15-year-old climate leader Ridhima Pandey, a TEDx speaker and one of the BBC's 100 most influential and empowering women. Ridhima is a pioneer in litigation for inaction on climate change. At the age of 9, she sued the Indian government for not respecting its commitments in the Paris Agreement. More recently, she was one of the 16 climate activists to file a complaint against several governments at the UN. Welcome, Ridhima. How are you today?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
I'm sure that suing the government of India was not an easy task. Could you shed some light on your experience and the progress of climate justice in recent years?
I mean, it was definitely not something that was really very easy. But what I can say is that, when I sued the government, I was like 9 years old. So I didn't knew that, it could be difficult suing the government and, things could happen and, there would be trollings and stuff like that. So once I did the petition and once I started facing those things, I can say that was a point of time I realized I've gotten into something which is kind of difficult to handle for a 9-year-old. And then I can say, gradually as I was learning and as I was working, um, I can say I learned about all the problems in India, like say, for example, the negligence about climate change and, how people are not aware about climate change and how parents don't really want their kids to take action. And as well, back in 2017, when I basically did the petition against the government of India, there were not really many kids, those who were into say climate activism or being an activist or taking action or voicing out for the animals and the planet. But recently, these years, I can say there has been a huge progress among, the youngsters, them knowing what climate change is, them fighting for their rights. I can say that has increased a lot in the past few years. And as well, the whole community where, all the people, all the youngsters come together, like our climate community. There has been a lot many kids, those who are starting work, those who have started working in India. And at the same time, I can say, the mindset of the people is somewhere shifting a bit, but it's still not that great. Still parents won't let their kids take action.
COP27 was both a failure and a success. What are your thoughts on the loss and damage fund? What are the next steps that the Indian government needs to take?
I still have like, every single time when the cops happen, I always have this mixed feelings about, I'm not sure what I think about the cops because it in itself is something that I am not really fond of, to be honest. But I can say, establishment of the funds is really a great step. But then it comes to, how it's going to be delivered and, how greatly or how nicely the countries also going to get it are going to use it, whether it's going to be used on ground or whether it's going to be wasted, like, all the other funds and all the other, basically, all the projects that have been funded by the government itself in the country. So I can say, the establishment of funds is really a great step, but then it comes to, how fast the funds are going to proceed, how fast the things are going to work on now, and how, the countries are going to strategize about how they're going to use it and stuff like that. That's a big question for me. And at the same time, I can say, for example, for Indian government, they are of course going to access the funds as well, because we're still, a developing country, still needs to do a lot and still, facing a lot and yet exploiting a lot as well. But what I can say is that, the Indian government really has to come forward and start working on the grounds because as far as what I can see, whether it's, our NDCs or whether it's, also the statements made by the officials and everything or on the bigger platforms, it just, when you listen to them, it makes you feel like, the country is really sort of, really into climate justice and, saving and conservation and everything. But when you see the work or the actions or the decisions that the government has been making, it's totally the opposite. So I can say, it's really important for the government to basically prioritize environment right now and start working more towards conservation instead of saying that we still need to get developed or the country is still lacking behind. Because I can say, we can take a few years for conservation and, take some time and, basically make sort of, the projects in a way that it's more towards, it is like eco-sensitive, and it's not exploiting, and so we are creating development, but we are saving the environment as well, not destroying it, and just focusing on the money, and basically the big buildings and everything. That's what the development is for.
Access to a safe and healthy future is a child's right. What is your message to young climate activists like you and I? What can you say to them about the next steps for achieving net zero?
What I can say is that leading a net zero life is really a big statement for, for people like us. I mean, basically, I mean, if you're in India, I can't really say that we can lead 100%, net zero waste, like lifestyle, having no waste and stuff like that, because we don't really have that much often, resources here. I mean, even if I want to go vegan, I won't have, I mean, where I live in Uttarakhand, I don't have that many options and resources for me. So, I mean, I end up being vegetarian, and sometimes people end up being, even being non-vegetarian because of health issues and stuff like that. So, what I can say is that, if a person is an activist, or, not only just being an activist all the time, but, if a person is concerned about the environment and they're trying at least their best to, do anything they can to conserve, or to create awareness about climate change, or about child rights, or about how it is impacting us, or how our actions are impacting the people on the front lines, the poor people, the poor communities, then they are doing a really great job. And what I can say is that firstly, we really have to keep going on, because I mean, we won't see progress instantly. That's what happened with me. I mean, when I started, I thought things are going to change very quickly as soon as I would start taking action. But back then I was 9, and here I am 15, still working, and still not seeing the progress that I wanted to see back then. So what I can say is that it's a process which is going to take a lot of time, and we won't see actions, or we won't see results very quickly, because at the very end, if we are talking about our in-person activity, like things that we can do, like changing our lifestyles and stuff like that, it's not gonna bring up a big change, if just a few people do it. So we need more and more people to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much once again. This is Sanyal. I add my voice to the voices of my net zero international youth peers to monitor the action of our world leaders and to achieve net zero commitments. Together, we can achieve net zero.